Hey everyone, welcome to the Good E-Reader Radio Show. My name is Michael, and today we're going to talk about all of the Kindle news that's come out in the last couple weeks, such as numerous older models not being able to access the Kindle store in August, as well as Send a Kindle updates on what types of features and functionality can you do right now, as well as future functionality sometime in the near future, as well as Kindle for Android and some big news happening with that. Of course, there's been a number of big devices that have either come out or been announced, so let's just get right into it with some Kindle news. Probably the biggest story happening anywhere right now is the flagship Amazon Kindle app for Android from Google Play is no longer supporting the purchasing of Kindle books in the app. It was originally supposed to happen on June 1st, but it happened one day earlier. Amazon pushed out a new update, version 8.58. When you open up the Kindle app, it will say that this app no longer supports buying new content. This change is to remain in compliance with the new Google Store Play policies. Amazon's letting customers know that they can add books to their wish list, and when you buy the ebooks on an internet browser and send books directly to the Kindle app. However, if you've purchased ebooks in the past, they will continue to be accessible in your library. So this is the first time that Amazon has ever really done this for Android. They had the Kindle shopping app roughly a couple months, maybe like 2 or 3 weeks ago. You can no longer buy Kindle books or Audible books in the Kindle shopping app for Android. And what is the Kindle shopping app? It's the main app that you use to buy clothes, household goods, batteries, Amazon basics stuff. Basically, if you need to buy anything from Amazon, instead of using like your PC or Mac, you can just use the Amazon shopping app and look at your past purchases, access tracking numbers, and all that type of stuff. And Amazon disabled the purchase of digital content through there a couple weeks ago, and everyone thought that, hey, they're probably not going to touch the Kindle app because it's like their flagship app. Everybody uses it on their phones and on their tablets to both buy and read content from Kindle content. And we wrote a story and no one really believed us. I mean, all the big mainstream media picked up on it. So like everyone from like The Verge to E! Engadget, mainstream publications such as CNN, the New York Times, they all picked up on it and referenced like our website and linked to it for all their online properties, which was kind of cool. But I mean, they do this a lot, especially because we break stories, because our website and all of our YouTube videos and our podcasts, we pretty well focus on like the digital reading industry, whether it's on e-readers or phones or tablets or on e-notes and anything like that. So this is, something that we follow very, very closely. So now that the Kindle app, as of June 1st, 2022, you can no longer buy ebooks through the app. Well, what can you do? Well, you can visit the Amazon website in your local markets. So if you live in the UK, amazon.co.uk. If you live in Canada, amazon.ca. If you live in America, amazon.com. And, it just goes on. Italy, Australia, whatever. So you can visit the website on your PC or Mac, or using your phone's internet browser, going to Amazon, searching for a title that you want to buy the Kindle edition, and then that book will be synced with, the app for, let's just say Kindle for Android, but it'll also be synced if you also read on your iPhone, or if you have a Kindle e-reader in your house or something like that. It'll be sent to all your devices. So you're not exclusively reliant on just using a Kindle app. So what else can you do? Well, you could use the Samsung App Store, and you can download the Kindle app from there and uninstall the one that you downloaded from Google Play. The Kindle version from the Samsung App Store works, and you can make purchases because everything's like handled through Amazon or from Samsung. And you could also download the Amazon App Store and download Kindle and Audible from there. And if you have that installed, Amazon handles all the billing directly, despite the fact that your phone may have Google Play on it. Because the Kindle app's not coming from Google Play, you will be able to easily, make purchases and stuff like that, because the one from Samsung handled by Amazon, the one from the Amazon App Store handles from Amazon for all the billing and things like that. So if you use those apps, you're basically logging into your Amazon account using your login and password, the same password as you would use on the app or as on your Kindle e-reader. So all your past purchases would be accessible because it's a Kindle app. So everything will be sunk to that app. So you're not losing out on anything. If anything, it just allows you more flexibility and freedom to do things within the app, as opposed to these workarounds, like, still using a Google Play version, but now you have to, you can't buy books in it anymore. So you got to jump through a lot of hoops, and a lot of people just don't want to do that. But this isn't the first time Amazon has done this. When they used to sell ebooks through their Kindle app for iOS, and something more recently that happened was Kindle for Android. So basically, with the Android version, Google Play basically is forcing everyone to use their own Google Play billing platform, and any developer that makes more than $1 million a year, which Amazon certainly qualifies for their Kindle app, they have to pay 30% of each transaction to Google. So for every Kindle book that you buy, whether it's $3.99, $9.99, $19.99, 30% of all those things go to Google. And so, ebooks, low profit margin business. So, Amazon's wouldn't make money if they had to pay that 30%. And the same thing happened with iOS. For the early days of the iTunes Store, the App Store, Apple didn't have their own sort of billing system yet. So all app developers had their own internal billing services. And then, roughly about the time that the iPad came out, Apple sort of said, hey, we're going to develop our own billing system. Every in-app transaction has to use our API, and we're going to charge 30% for each in-app transaction. And, this forced all the big ebook retailing apps to flee the platform. Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Audible, Kobo, everybody else. The only thing that you can do is maybe sign up for a subscription service, like buy an Audible subscription service that gives you 1 credit a month. That's the same thing that you can do on Android. So Amazon certainly wasn't the first company to abandon in-app purchases on Android. At the beginning of May, Audible did the same thing. So you can no longer buy audiobooks through the Audible app. The only thing that you can do is take out a subscription for credits. Barnes & Noble fled the platform, so you can't buy audiobooks or ebooks through the Nook e-reading app anymore. And this not only affects people that use the Nook app on their phones, but if you actually have any of the Nook tablets, like the ones made by Lenovo, the ones that Barnes & Noble made themselves, or the Samsung Galaxy Tab for Nook, all those tablets have Google Play on them, which means that the Nook reading app on those tablets can't make purchases through the app anymore, which means that you got to, buy books on your browser, buy books through the tablet's browser, and then anything you buy will be sunk to the app. And it's a whole rigmarole. The whole purpose of people using Android was the ease of use, that you can buy in-app transactions through the same app and consume media through the app. That's not the reality anymore. There's a new reality. It's called consumption. So all the e-reading apps for both Android and iOS are consumption-only apps. You can't do any purchases through the apps. It's only consumption. And that really sucks. So let me know what you guys think if you're listening to this podcast on Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, or even on YouTube. Drop a comment below. Visit our website at goodereader.com and, comment on any of the stories that we have written about. We have some new information on Send to Kindle and how this applies towards EPUB. So if you guys know, Send to Kindle will be supporting the EPUB format later this year in August. So send a Kindle is there's a myriad of things that you can do, from send a Kindle for email, send a Kindle for a program that you can download for PCs or Macs. There's a Chrome extension, but basically it allows you to be able to send a Kindle Mobi files, AZW files, files that you download from the internet, say from Project Gutenberg, or if you have your own personal collection of DRM free ebooks, you can just easily send them to your Kindle. It's quick and easy. Not a whole lot of people do that. The charm of having a Kindle e-reader is that you can do everything within just the Amazon ecosystem. You can download samples, you can buy ebooks, you can download free books. There's a lot of flexibility and freedom there. But some people, especially power users, download a lot of Mobi files from whether pirate sites or from royalty-free sites, or if you live in Europe, there's a lot of stores that sell ebooks that only have digital watermarks, that don't actually have digital right management. So these like EPUB books will soon be able to be used via Send a Kindle. So right now it supports Send a Kindle via email. And what is Send a Kindle via email? If you log into your Amazon account and you click on under content and devices, you can actually go and check out the Kindles that are registered to your account as well as the apps. And each one has a unique email address. It's usually alphanumeric characters at kindle.com, and all you have to do is like copy paste that into your web browser. If you're using like Chrome or Outlook.com, Gmail, Yahoo.com, MSN, whatever, right? I use like Outlook on my PC, so all I have to do is like write an email to my Kindle address and then add some ebooks as attachments, and then those attachments will be sent to my Kindle. So I've been doing that with EPUB and just testing it right now, and it's working. But Amazon said that the other Send a Kindle things, like the Chrome extension, Send a Kindle for PC and Mac, those will work in August. They're tending to like work out some things right now. Send a Kindle will also be dropping support for Mobi and AZW books, which are outdated formats. They don't support modern typography. So let's give a little bit of history lesson. Why is Amazon getting rid of Mobi files from being used for Send a Kindles? Well, it's the first format that the Kindle ever supported. The company bought MobiPoc in 2005 for an undisclosed sum, and they specialized in a new ebook format and ebook reading software, which Amazon eventually used in the Kindle that came out in 2007. It was used for about 3 or 4 years and it's still supported today. But there's better formats that were available. In 2011, Amazon developed Kindle Format 8, also known as KF8. It supported a subset of HTML5 and CSS3 features. In August 2005, Amazon unveiled their newest format, Kindle Format 10 or KFX. It supports a new typesetting and layout engine that supports hyphen, kerneling, ligatures used for text and for ebooks that support like EPUB 3 and things like that. So KFX is known as uncrackable. When it came out in 2015, hackers have tried and they have yet to break the encryption on there. So any ebooks that are available in Kindle Format 10 or KFX are basically uncrackable, which is why in a lot of pirate sites you'll find older formats that have been cracked a long time ago, such as AZW and Mobi. And those are the two formats that Send a Kindle is suspending support for in August. Now, it's important to note that you will continue to load in Mobi, PRC, AZW books by using alternative methods. By using Windows Explorer, when your Kindle's plugged into your PC, you can just drag and drop ebooks into like the folders. But you can also use a program called Caliber, and it'll also support the sending of Mobi and AZW books to your Kindle, but it won't support EPUBs. So EPUB is the official standard for digital book formats. It's received major revisions. It basically came out in 2007, and this was known as like the format wars. So when EPUB first came out, There was a bunch of other formats. There was Lit that Microsoft did, or maybe it was LRF. Anyways, like Lit, LRF, PDF. There was just like a myriad of different formats that had come out, and companies like Sony, companies like Microsoft, they always developed their own format. But eventually, EPUB ended up being the format that everyone started to adopting. It was like the most used. Publishers used it, like big and small. So when publishers like do like ebook conversions, they mainly start at EPUB, and they ended up like submitting that to Amazon. Amazon converts it from EPUB to another format, which is like the same thing with Send a Kindle. When you send a Kindle EPUB to your Kindle, it's not like basically sent as an EPUB. It's actually converted to like an AZW format. So Amazon is not supporting EPUB natively in their reading apps. It's basically converting it behind the scenes. So yeah, I mean, EPUB, like everybody uses that except for Amazon, like Apple Books, Barnes & Noble, Kobo, Google Books, Scribd, Overdrive, and virtually everybody else. Like EPUB is like the most widely adopted format in the world, which is why I guess Kindle is eventually going to be supporting this. So that's some sort of good news. But we do actually have some bad news now with Amazon. So if you thought that the Kindle app for Android was bad news, this is bad news if you actually have a Kindle e-reader. Amazon announced that in August 2022, a large number of older Kindle e-readers will no longer be able to access the bookstore. This means you won't be able to buy, browse, or even download free samples. Effectively, the store will be inaccessible. This affects the Kindle second generation, Kindle DX, Kindle Keyboard, Kindle fourth generation, and Kindle fifth generation. The only way that you could still buy books on these e-readers come August is to buy them on the website, sync them to your Kindle, but you can't actually buy books on a Kindle anymore. Why are they doing this? Well, Amazon hasn't really stated why, but I believe this has to do with TLS certificates. The Amazon bookstore sometimes updates their security, and the minimum the store currently accepts right now is TLS 1.2. However, in the near future, they will be supporting TLS 1.3. Amazon could issue a firmware to solve this issue and upgrade TLS for older Kindle e-readers. But why bother? There's such a small population of users that actually are using 10-year-old Kindles with poor PPI and e-ink pearl screens. But the real reason why Amazon won't issue a firmware update, because it goes against a new Kindle policy. We broke a story last year, it was around August, that they will only issue security updates for 4 years when the Kindle was last available for purchase on the Amazon website. This means that prior generation, like the Kindle Basic that came out in 2019, the 10th generation Kindle Paperwhite that came out in 2019, the Kindle Oasis 3, they will only be supported from around 2024 to 2026, and then they will no longer receive firmware updates. So Amazon implemented this policy to get people to upgrade every few generations and continue their investment in the Amazon ecosystem. The hardware business does not really net Amazon any meaningful revenue, but their entire business centers around selling digital content, such as audiobooks, ebooks, comics, subscriptions to Kindle Unlimited, as well as Kids Plus. So Amazon doesn't make any money upgrading older e-readers to have them access the Kindle bookstore because there's so small amount of users that are actually doing that. However, if you're still using those e-readers, Amazon's sending emails out to people that actually have active e-readers attached to their accounts. They're offering them a 30% discount towards the current model, as well as $40 in free ebook credit. So if you're still using this old e-reader, now's probably the best time to upgrade. There's some new e-readers that have come out lately, and they're all pretty exciting. Probably the newest one was announced today, the Pocketbook Era. It's a 7-inch e-reader. It's using the new Encarta 1200 e-paper display technology. It basically increases the contrast of the image by 15% and improves the response time of the touchscreen by 20%. So it has a smart light, so both a color temperature system and a front light display. It's a 300 ppi screen. It has physical page turn buttons, but they have basically redone the design with the Era, so it's unlike any pocketbook that they've released in the past, which always had physical buttons alongside the bottom of the bezel. You know, they had a home button, a more button, a back button, and so on. So they've incorporated that into the touchscreen layer now, and they're using Carta to make everything that you do on a touchscreen more responsive. However, they've still continued to have the physical page turn buttons, but they've slimmed them down. So actually, this new pocketbook, it looks very slim and trim. Specs pretty good for a pocketbook. It's a dual core 1 gigahertz processor, 1 gig of RAM. You know, traditionally they use about 512, but they are using 1 gig in this. They have 2 colors to choose from, and each one has a different storage subset. So the Sunset Copper version has 64 gigs of memory. It retails for about $249 US, and then the default is the Stardust Silver one, and it's basically the whole unit is not like copper or silver. It just has trim along the side. So the whole device isn't it, but they have like these cool little strips that basically have color. So the Stardust Silver one is 16 gigs of memory, and that retails at about $199. These will come out at basically the first week or two of July. It has USB-C. It has a single speaker, as well as Bluetooth 5.1 for earbuds, wireless headphones. It has a text-to-speech system, 1700 milliamp battery, and weighs 228 grams, so it's pretty light. And Pocketbook is like one of those companies that support such a wide array of formats. Like, they support literally everything. You could actually load in your own audiobooks too, because it supports like so many different formats, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 audiobook formats, like 17 plus like ebook formats. Yeah, I mean, Pocketbook's always been really king at being able to like play nice with people's digital content library. Of course, Pocketbook does have an online bookstore where you can use to like buy ebooks from. It's not the best, but I mean, it's a bookstore, so I mean, there's something going on anyways. Other devices, there's been a lot. The Onyx Boox Note Air 2 Plus, 10.3-inch e-reader running Android 11. It's an e-note. It's basically like an upgraded version of the Note Air 2. The big differences between the two: larger battery, faster processor, support for magnetic sleep covers, a new color scheme, and the pen magnetically attaches to the side. Aside from that, Qualcomm Snapdragon octa-core processor, 4 gigs of RAM, 64 gigs of internal storage, a giant 37 milliamp battery, Android 11 and Google Play, as well as support for a myriad of formats, although Pocketbook obviously supports like the best. But I mean, Google Play on a large 10.3-inch device, black and white display, not color. So if you're looking, if you say you have Pocketbook e-note that's more than 2 or 3 years old, or maybe 4 or 5 years old, this is a good upgrade path because it's like $499. However, the Pocketbook Note Air 1 is on sale for $399 right now, so that might be the better investment. However, it only supports Android 10, but still has access to Google Play. Barnes & Noble surprised everybody by releasing a brand new e-reader that's going to be available in the first week of June. It'll retail for $119, which is pretty cheap. So this is the same size as the Nook Glowlight 4 that came out in 2021. This has the same form factor, so the same shell and everything. This one's called the Nook Glowlight 4e, and it has a little less specs. It's using 212 PPI instead of the Nook Glowlight 4. This has 300 PPI. It's 8 gigs of storage, USB-C, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, an anti-glare screen protector, a pretty good processor. It also has physical page turn buttons on both the left and right hand side, as well as a home button on the bottom, the ubiquitous U, or upside down U, but it's basically an N. This e-reader will fit all the cases that came out for the Nook Glowlight 4. So they're not making a new line of cases for this, because the Nook Glowlight 4e is the same size and dimensions and everything. They're basically using the same device, but they're just using a different screen technology, so they can offer it for like $30 or $40 cheaper than a Nook Glowlight 4. And so this is a good entry-level e-reader. Why did Barnes & Noble release this? Not everybody listening to this show or listening to it on podcast networks or YouTube and whatnot, a lot of people are more concerned with mid-level or flagship e-readers, because if you live in the Western world, you kind of want to buy the best because it's going to last you for 4 or 5 years. E-reader technology really doesn't dramatically change over time. So, unlike an iPhone or a flagship Android phone, you can hang on to those for maybe a year or two before it's time to upgrade your smartphone with e-readers. The upgrade cycles, instead of 2 with a smartphone, it's 4 or 5. So probably the better buy is the Nook Glowlight 4, but there is a good reason why Barnes & Noble released the 4e. It's mainly so they could have a 4 SKU strategy: an entry-level e-reader, a mid-level e-reader, and a premium e-reader, which is the Nook Glowlight 7.8 Plus, which has a 7.8-inch display, 300 PPI. It's the best e-reader that they likely have ever made. Just the software on Nook, I think, could do with some love. They've been basically using the same UI and system for 5 to 7 years. So a lot of things change, and I really do think that they need to make things a little bit more responsive. At least from everybody that I've talked to about Nook, they say the weakest part of it is their software. So I think that their hardware is starting to get on point. It's just their software, I think, that needs a little bit of TLC. And I'll bring this up with them. So why is Barnes & Noble release basically 3 e-readers in 2.5 years? What's up with that? There's a whole new management, and that's nothing new. I mean, Barnes & Noble has changed executives like musical chairs. They've changed 5 to 7 CEOs in 6 years. But things really changed when they got bought out by Elliott, which is a hedge fund company. They actually own Waterstones too, which is the largest book-selling chain in the UK. And so they own the biggest book-selling chain in the UK, and they own the largest book-selling chain in the US. The same CEO that was in charge of Waterstones, that basically churned that bookstore around from basically insolvency to being the best, most highest regarded bookstore in the UK, was James Don. He's actually the CEO of Barnes & Noble too. So he's actually CEO of 2 major bookstore chains. So the dude knows books, and he knows what it takes to sell books. He's also bullish on digital content. So just to give you guys a sense, Barnes & Noble in the past, it was really hard for me to talk with executives. When it was a publicly traded company, and the executives and the Nooks would basically stay there for a year or two, then they would move on to a toy company, or to the greener pastures. Barnes & Noble was just a resting stop for them. There was nobody that was really ever a champion of the Nook. There's been times when it looked like it was a priority, and then other times they would go 3 or 4 years without a new e-reader, and they would do tablet relationships with Samsung. So it's they didn't care. But it seems as though in the ever since they got bought out, so basically close to a year and a half now, they've never been more accessible. I talked to the VP of Nook. I talked to the VP of Nook Audiobooks. I talked to the VP of e-commerce. regularly. Whenever there's something I want to know, they're super accessible. And so they've never been more accessible. Before, there was all these PR gate guards that you could never talk to executives. You had to like go through the PR department of Barnes and Noble, and it would take weeks to get an answer from them. So things have changed. And from all my talks with them, it's like we really want to make Nook successful, and we pay attention to like what everyone's doing in the industry, and we just want to make Nook competitive and in the future better. And it was, you know, I guess this sums it up. But 3 years ago, I talked to the VP of Nook. I asked him if he like paid attention to what Amazon did with the Kindle. He says, no, I don't care. I don't care what Amazon does. Amazon's the biggest company in e-readers. They sell the most ebooks. Audible sells the most audiobooks. They sell the most e-readers, the Kindles. You would be stupid not to pay attention to your competition. And then now Barnes and Noble's like, yeah, we pay attention to like everybody. We pay attention to brands that you've never even heard of before. We have those e-readers here that we're testing to see like, you know, if there's anything on them that we could do and we can do better. And I mean, that speaks volumes. Like Nook is back, folks. And I think that they're going to be around for a long time. And there's been times where it looked like that they were not going to be around. Bionic reading. Have you ever tried this on any e-reader such as the Kindle? This was one of our top stories basically in the last month. So bionic reading is like a new type of reading. So like, let's just say that the Kindle has a series of world-class fonts that were developed by Amazon. They tend to provide the best reading experience with Bookerly, Ember Bold, but there's a new font in town that's making its ways throughout the e-reader world. Bionic reading revises text so the most concise parts of the words are highlighted. This guides the eye over the text, and the brain remembers previously learned words more quickly. The eye is guided through text by means of typographic highlights. With the interplay of fixation, saccade, opacity, visual stimuli can be transferred to the text, which decisively change the typeface. Basically, if you look at bionic reading as a new method facilitating the reading process by guiding the eyes throughout text with artificial fixation points. The bio in bionic reading is bold. Reading, just the word read is bold. Is bold. The first letter of N, method facilitating reading. There's the first few characters that are bold. So I guess this like makes the eyes want to read faster, but this is not a speed reading system. It's basically 50% of the content on any given page is shown in bold. They have an API that app developers could use to implement the system in an existing e-reading app, but they actually have an online converter that you can convert EPUBs to a bionic reading format. So let's say that you downloaded the latest James Patterson on a pirate website and you want to convert that like book and change the typeface so you could like read it on your Kobo or Kindle. What you can do is you could like use the like online converter that bionic reading has, and I believe the link is like api.bionic-reading.com/convert. So that's api.bionic-reading.com/convert. You basically just browse your computer for an EPUB file. It does support other formats such as text, RTF, docx, etc. Or enter the text or on a website. So you can just like do a body of text just to test. So you can like browse your computer for an EPUB file and it will like automatically convert it to a bionic reading format, and then you can copy it to your Kobo or Nook, or you can send a Kindle via email, the EPUB doc, directly to your Kindle. So it's a cool new system, and it's been a long time since we've actually had a really kind of cool new ebook format. It's been like an e-reading format. It's been a long time, like 5 or 6, 7 years longer. I mean, probably Amazon's probably the last ones to make like Ember or Bold or like Bookerly. So the last time I can kind of think that anyone's really made like new fonts that have actually captured the attention of like or the imagination of people. So in the last like month, so many e-readers have come out. Like so many. Let's just go over some of them. The Pocketbook Era, the Boox Note Air Plus, the Barnes Noble Nook Glowlight 4e, the Ink Palm Plus Mini, the iFlyTac Air, the iReader Palm Reading Smart 3. What else? The iReader, the Hisense A9, the new Fire 7 tablet, not exactly an e-reader. And these folks were like released just in May. Yeah, I mean there's a ton of them. The Poke 4, the Poke 4S by Onyx Boox, and a few future Onyx books. Bigme, a Chinese company that started doing English on all their devices, 12 devices. Like, I would probably say that 2022, with the addition of popular devices like the Huawei MatePad, so many big name products that have come out, but the rest of the year, new Kindles, new Kobos, like new mainstream e-readers, they're going to be coming out too. I would probably say that 2022 is going to be the year where the most e-readers and the most e-notes that have come out in history. And I thought that 2021 set a record. Like basically 97 new devices came out last year between e-readers, e-notes, released in Europe, North America, China, and other markets like Russia. So this year, I'd probably say 130 devices will probably come out. And I mean, that's never happened before. Not, like all these companies are like doing e-readers. Now, probably say this year about say 130, let's just round up. 15 of them will probably be Chinese only devices with no English. But that leaves like easily 100 more with English that are accessible by everybody listening to this show or watching it on YouTube. So that's huge. What are some of the technologies that these new e-readers are going to employ? So only a paltry few of them this year, like basically counted on one hand, have been using Kaleido, so color e-paper. There's been like DS slurry devices that were announced last year that will be shipping in this year, like those crowdfunding campaigns. The names escape me, but we've reviewed them. Let me just look on our website really quickly. DS slurry. They're Chinese companies, but they are releasing products in multiple languages. Yeah. The Ringing Stone R1 and a Top Joy Butterfly. So both of these are using like a brand new e-paper technology that only came out in 2021. And those two products are using it. Word has it, the more are going to be employing it in 2022. But the big thing about this year is E-Ink Kaleido 3 and E-Ink Gallery 3. So here's what you need to know about Kaleido 3. It displays 4,096 colors, but it increases the saturation of those colors by 30%. They have a new frontlit display system that decreases like the light. So we're going to finally see color temperature systems with color e-ink. So the last few generations of color e-ink Kaleido used around 4,000 colors at 100 ppi. The ppi has been increased to 150 ppi, and they're using RGB colors on it. It has support for the newest e-ink technologies, like e-ink Carta 1200, what the Pocketbook's using. It's using Carta 1250, which the Fujitsu and the Onyx Boox Nova 3 colors are using. On Cell Touch, it supports that. So, I mean, this supports a lot of things that e-ink, like Kaleido 3, is going to be the best color paper that we've really seen in the Kaleido arena. But it supports all of the new waveforms that e-ink has developed. Whereas Gallery 3, it's uncharted waters, mainly because it only affects one screen size right now, which is like about, what was it? Like 7.8, 8 inches. So Gallery 3 is based on advanced color e-paper technology, which not only could display 4,000 colors, it could display 50,000 colors. And instead of supporting RGB, it supports like CMYK. So that's how it displays like so many different colors. So Gallery 3, just like advanced color e-paper, suffers from refresh issues. But developers could actually choose what update time they want to have for specific functionality. And this will affect like the color, the amount of colors being displayed on the screen. So it could display up to 50,000 colors. However, you know, the base model could only display 350 milliseconds between page turns or between color states changing. The fast color mode is 500 milliseconds. The standard color mode is 750 to 1,000 milliseconds. And the best color is achieved at 1,500 milliseconds. That's like about 1.5 seconds. So you'll see the best colors at 1.5 seconds. But that's for the page turn speed. I don't know if a lot of people are going to be into that. But for drawing, yeah, I could see for drawing like that, although it wouldn't be as fluid. But I think that there's a comfortable medium between 500 milliseconds and 350 milliseconds to be able to display, say, like 35,000 colors. Still, that's pretty awesome. So, I mean, it only supports 8 inches, like, until a few devices come out and people are using it. However, it's not going to support Carta 1200, 1250 on Cell Touch. It's not going to support like anything. It's basically a new form of e-paper that is pretty well used to make things look really rich, deep, and colorful. eNotes, I think, could get the most value out of it. So instead of eNotes using Kaleido 3 right now, or Kaleido 2, sorry, they usually do about 17 different colors. But I mean, if they use Gallery 3, I mean, they would be able to have like an Adobe style color palette where you could like choose between thousands of colors, like in different shades. I mean, imagine like how far eNotes will move ahead when they could like display as many colors as like an iPad using an Apple Pencil. I mean, it's not going to display billion colors, but you know what I mean? Like the color wheel, the flyout color wheel that you could choose on like multi-purpose tablets. That's the same kind of experience that you're going to get on eNotes like this year. So I haven't heard about anyone using Gallery 3 yet, because like Ink really only showed this out like April of 2022. That's about the same time that they announced Kaleido 3. So big e-ink customers receive development kits probably in March. So they get enough lead time to say like, do we want to use Gallery 3 for a product that comes out like in fall, or do we want to use Kaleido 3? I have a company. I have a feeling more companies will do Kaleido 3 because Kaleido 3 supports larger screen sizes: 7.8, 10.3, 13.3. So Kaleido 3, Onyx Boox, like Lumi 3, anybody? Wow, that would be awesome. Like, but it also supports smaller screen sizes. So, like, prospectively, we could see like Kaleido 3 smartphones come out, 6-inch e-readers, 7.8, 8-inch. Like, the sky's the limit. That's the nice thing about Kaleido 3 is that the screen could be cut towards any configuration. But this new technology actually supports larger screen sizes than Kaleido 1 and 2. Kaleido 1 could only really do like 6.8 max. Kaleido 2 could do like 7.8 nicely, and some companies got away with like 10.3s, but like Bigme was like the only one that really did that. So I mean, it's you know, and a lot of people have heard about that company, but we're really bullish about them. Like they give tremendous value to like their customers, and it's like they release firmware updates. They support like a bunch of languages. It supports English, which is like freaking huge. And I mean, they basically have three types of hardware, and they've done sort of like three different models for each piece of hardware. So if you're looking for a good Kaleido 2, the Carve Color or the B1 Max Plus are probably the best in terms of like octa-core processors, 6 gigs of RAM, 128 gigs of storage. I mean, their machines are crazy with hardware specs, and the performance on them is like off the charts. So, I mean, they're really going to give soon. Once they sort of build up some market traction, and if, oh, so like one of the things that always hampered them was like the lack of Google Play. And they just like told us that they're like updating all the e-readers that they released this year, all the e-notes, like basically 12 devices with Google Play. And they're really going to soon give Onyx Boox a run for their money. You know, the companies are both based in China. They both support a wide number of languages. They both have Google Play, high versions of Android. Onyx probably has more software features, and they probably do firmware updates a little bit more regularly. But Bigme's no slouch either. Since I've had the Carve Color for about 3 months, they've done 2 firmware updates. So they're not as sleeping at the wheel with like fixing bugs, you know, doing what they can with like software enhancements and stuff. So I mean, you know, they reminded me of Onyx when they first started doing e-notes. You know, they are probably about a year from seriously competing against Onyx. Like, you know, they're about a year back with like a totally money software experience, but just give them time and, you know, give them your support by buying units and stuff like that. I mean, you can buy them through our store at goodyreader.com/blog/shop and no slash on shop, or you can just click on the Goody Reader store on goodyreader.com. And Bigme device is pretty cheap. You can get stuff for like $200. Price goes up to like 1,000. Depends on like if you want the best specs, flagship quality type things. You know, it's the type of people that are like, you know, when you buy an iPhone, do you buy the iPhone? You know, when you buy, say the 13th generation comes, do you buy the iPhone Pro Max that has like, you know, the most RAM, the most internal storage, you know, the best ProMotion display, or do you get like, you know, a mid-level model like the Pro, or do you just get the base model? You know, it's like there's an iPhone for everybody. It's like Apple Watch, you know, like they have like the Apple Watch with like the you know, the default aluminum display. But did you actually know that they actually make titanium and another metal? Um, so they do aluminum, which is the base, and then their highest model is titanium and stainless steel. So obviously, the higher the watch caliber that you have, like they're all the same sizes, but just made of different metals. And I think if you get like the titanium or the stainless steel, it actually has a better screen, a more durable screen. And I noticed with my aluminum Apple Watch, it scratches more easily. But I mean, like iPhones, like Apple Watches, like basically like anything that there's like a range of devices. So you can buy like something entry level for just a few $100, but if you want to get like the Hermes edition, it's like, 5,000, if you want to like pimp it out and like, you know, like make your friends jealous, or at least thinking that the more money that you spend makes people jealous, which I don't know is the real case. Like, people always say that like the best thing about spending money is so you can flex on people, and that's so evident on like social media networks. Like, if you use Instagram, everybody's flexing. Like, look at me, I'm on a private jet, but it's basically a green screen backdrop. Or like the people that actually have a lot of money, like they're rich, or their parents are super rich, so they're actually on private jets, or they rent it for like a day, and it's just like they're on a private jet but they're actually not flying anywhere. There's like all sorts of different levels of Instagram people, but everyone's just trying to flex, like using, you know for me, I never really try to hide who I am. I try to lose weight, and I've started really working out the last like 4 or 5 months. So I've like, lost like 20 pounds, and I feel great. Like, I used to dread like going for walks and exercising, and it's just to become a daily thing for me now. And it's like, when people say that like exercise is addictive, it is. It like releases like endorphins and stuff. It makes you actually feel pretty good. So I'm smiling more. And I never used to show teeth when I smiled, but I am now a lot. So that's cool. But flexing, I mean, I don't spend money to flex. I spend money, like more money, on things because they're more durable. Like, if you buy fast fashion from like Forever 21 or H&M, like you're buying clothes for like $10, $15. If you buy jeans from the Gap, those things are not going to last you for more than like a couple of months before the washing machine puts holes in them. You're not going to get them dry clean, because it's dry clean costs more than you actually paid for the item. So I've always been the type of guy that spends more on things because intrinsically I want them to like last. So I'll spend like $1,500 Canadian, which is like maybe 1,200 or 1,100 US, on like a blazer, because I have blazers that are like 12 years old and they look great. I get them dry cleaned like every five or six wears, that mostly. Collared dress shirts, maybe like $200, $250 dress shirts, and like I have like maybe like 30 in my closet, just different shades, because they mix and match with like my dress pants and my blazers and my shoes, my dress shoes and stuff. So I could always like mix and match my fashion. I've had some dress shirts for 14 years that I spent 250 for. And it's like, you get anything over, if you can buy clothes that last you like 4 or 5 years, you're in great like position. Like, it's like sweaters. If you can buy like wool sweaters that like will last you a long time. You buy like a good cashmere sweater, it'll last you like 15, 16 years. It's like good cookware. I recently got like an all cast like cookware set, and I got it because everybody was saying in the reviews that's like, not only is this stuff hella durable, but I've actually passed this down to my daughters. Like, it's like good quality cookware will be passed down like generations, because it just lasts. It's like, when your parents often will say like they don't make things like they used to. They cut corners a lot. Like, my mom had this toaster oven that she had from like when I was a toddler, and she still has it. So it's been like, she's had it literally for like 30 plus years. Nothing's ever gone wrong with it. Not a single thing's ever had to been replaced. It's like durable as hell. And like, I bet she spent $100 on it at the time. But it's like, durability is huge. So yeah, when I spend money, I don't spend money to flex. I spend money because like I'd rather spend more to buy something of quality, so you can like get like 10 to 15 years plus of value on it, as opposed to like fast fashion, it'd be nice to spend $10, $15 instead of hundreds of dollars or $1,000 on a blazer. But fast fashion stuff, a month, weeks even. That's why those whole stores like change everything so quickly, because they could afford to throw everything out that doesn't get sold and change up like the entire store's like selection every 2 weeks. So you can shop at those stores and your money will go a lot farther, but it's basically disposable fashion. And I guess the thing about disposable fashion is that the people that actually make the stuff, they're the people that suffer. Because you ever hear like on the news where like people bought something and there's like a help me note like in that they find in it, like, I make like 5 cents like a day and I make like 300 shirts a day, like please help. When you see things like down in the news, it's because of fast fashion. It's because like the little factories in Pakistan or like India or Vietnam or in Africa, it's like they're all underbidding each other. So like hardly anyone's making money, much less the workers, to make like thousands of shirts, and they'll keep on getting jobs because those 1,000 shirts will get sold, snapped up, but for like $5 or $10 a pop all over the US. And like a week or two later they're going to get another huge order. So that's how it is. Where for let's look at it from like an e-reading perspective. Most e-readers are pretty durable. They're constructed in such a way that you get value. Like I know people that have been using the same Kindle for like 10 years. There's nothing wrong with it. The thing that will probably go wrong with it, if they keep it like another 5 years, is just the batteries. Like batteries only have a small number of charge cycles before they go bad. It's usually about 1,500 charge cycles that you could do. So for going from 0 to full, you can only really do that about 1,500 times before you need to replace the battery. But the thing about e-readers is that you could literally read on your Kindle every day and not have to charge it maybe once a month. So I mean, that's how you could really get years worth of use out of it. And that's the thing that's always appealing towards e-readers. Like whether you buy a Kindle Basic for like $59 on sale, or a Kindle Paperwhite 11th generation with a 7-inch screen for like $119, you can literally hang on to that for like 5 to 10 years and still get a ton of enjoyment, save money by buying ebooks and stuff like that. And you get your money's worth and then some. You get a ton of value out of it. But then again, like, e-readers certainly aren't disposable. They're the type of thing that you hang on to for like the long term. I've been reading on like a first generation Paperwhite since it came out. So like what, like 2015, 2014, been reading on that. So it's like whatever, like 7 years. I've never been really too good at math. So hopefully you guys could like correct me, or you're not moaning and growing like, oh, what is this guy talking about? Yeah, I've never been good at math. I'm like a creative guy. I'm less analytical. So yeah, but hopefully you've enjoyed this edition of the Good Reader Radio Show. You can listen to it on all the major podcast networks. We support like TuneIn, Spotify, Apple, Google Podcasts. Soon we're going to be uploading these to YouTube to foster some YouTube community, because our YouTube channel is doing really well. If you want to check it out, maybe drop a subscribe or just see what we're all about. It's youtube.com/goodyreader, all one word. And for all the latest news, previews, reviews, introspectives, commentary, and all the latest news in the e-reader industry. If you want to read the type of news that everyone else like sources as their reference when they write e-reader news stories, you want to read us, because we're the definitive source, and we've been around since like 2008. So like a long time. So we've been tracking this e-reader industry for quite a while. So we see trends, analysis, like all of the news. So if you want to know about any new e-reader that gets released, no matter where in the world it comes out, South Korea, like China, like Russia, Europe, like brands from like Bokin to brands like Fujitsu out of Japan. It's like, we are your online destination. And I've been following this like e-reader industry like more than a lot of people that are actually working in the Kindle division or the Nook division or working at Kobo. It's like I've been tracking an industry like more than a lot of those people that have even had jobs within the e-reader industry. So I know a lot. So if you want to hear more, we're going to be doing these like radio shows like every week. We usually do them on Friday. This is an early edition just because we had so much to cover with like Amazon, so much news coming out of that, talking about some of the more notable e-readers that have been announced literally in the last 3 days. And I've even talked about like the Onyx Boox Note Air, which is basically the best color 7.8 e-note that money can buy. You know, I've talked about it. I've written a review on it, but I haven't really like mentioned it on a radio show before. So maybe next week I'll give you my thoughts on that. But probably by next week's show, I might have some other interesting news from Onyx Boox regarding some new products, but nothing to really get overly excited about. Let's just say that they're more like entry level products. For GoodEreader.com, my name is Michael, and everybody take care.